Messieurs, dames, c'est avec un grand embarras que j'ose dire quelques mots. Je regrette en anglais. Dans un bâtiment qui a été construit en 1588, au temps où Shakespeare a produit ses premiers drames à Londres, dans un endroit renaissance du premier choix. Enfin, peut-être vous allez me pardonner si je suis avec quelques mots en anglais sur un concept extraordinaire qu'on va écouter ce soir. Carlo Gesualdo, Prince of Venosa, born 1566, is an Italian Renaissance composer, famous for his madrigals and notorious for his private life. In 1586, he married Maria d'Avola, a girl of 20, but already a widow. Her previous husband, it is whispered, had died of too much conjugal bliss. According to Huxley, which is disputed. Gesualdo, well, he had two children by this lady, one of his own begetting, the other almost certainly not. Don Fabrizio Carafa had entered the scene as Donna Maria's lover. On the night of October the 16th, 1530, accompanied by 3 retainers, 3 servants, armed with the halberd, arquebuses, Gesualdo broke into his wife's room, found the lovers, and had them killed. The illegitimate son was also put to death. And there was the rub, because he didn't do it himself. He delegated the job to the lower classes. Therefore, he had to lie low for a bit in one of his castles in order to escape the wrath of the family of his wife, well, ex-wife, and the family of the lover. Both families understood that the murders were perfectly okay. But he should have done it himself, because a nobleman needs to kill a nobleman. Noblemen need to die at the hands of their peers. So after lying low Gesualdo appeared, he returned to civilization, first to Naples, Napoli, then Ferrara, where he started composing beautiful madrigals. He married Donna Leonora d'Este in February 1534, and later he was dogged by an unhappy life. The son of his second wife died young. He had all sorts of other difficulties and by moments felt guilt. He was consistently tormented, says a contemporary gossip, by a host of demons. His lifelong neurosis had deepened, says Huxley, into insanity. Apart from music, according to Campanella, again according to Huxley, we don't quite know, his other obsession was with physical pain. In other words, he had a specially trained servant who would give him the treatment. Some call it the English vice. That servant had to whip him, and at some stage it became a physical obsession, a physical necessity even. And again, according to Campanella, according to Huxley, it's contested by historians, he couldn't even use the facilities, the toilets, without the services of this specially trained servant. And we have to thank the ensemble tonight for, well, the Tamarisk ensemble, for making arrangements that anyone who wishes to use the toilets can benefit from. No, I won't go on. And Gilles forbade me to say these things. Gesualdo felt, I'm sorry Gilles, I didn't say these things, I really didn't. So, until his death, Gesualdo felt remorse for his crimes. They weighed heavily on his conscience until his death in 1613. But what is a madrigal? Huxley defines it as, well, in Adonis and the alphabet, as a non-religious motet. Historically, it starts out as a piece of emotionally neutral polyphony, whose whole beauty consists in the richness and complexity of its many-voiced texture, and evolves with composers like Monteverdi and Gesualdo into a kind of what Huxley calls a musical miracle, in which seemingly impossible harmonies are reconciled in a higher synthesis. Huxley feels that, well, Gesualdo's contribution to music is his ability to create the enchanted intensity of the counterpoint of the love potion scene of Wagner's Tristan. But as Huxley points out, Gesualdo does better than Wagner. Because Huxley didn't like Wagner. And in fact, neither did his close friend Igor Stravinsky. Now, Huxley says of Wagner that he's about Parsifal, right? It's about eroticized religion. Stravinsky is a bit blunter and says, well, it's basically about masturbation. Sorry.
Well, this is Wagner.
That's Huxley about Wagner, exactly. Huxley sees music as an expression of man's, well, of man's level and a gauge of his spirituality. And in The Doors of Perception, there are comments on Gesualdo's music in which he describes the experience of Gesualdo as listening to fragments of consciousness. Because Gesualdo was fragmented and torn. But in each fragment, Huxley points out, there is the completeness and the all-rightness of the cosmic order. So that's an example, perhaps, of music composed by someone who was, in many ways, not perfect. In fact, who felt remorse, who felt he failed in life. And yet, this sense of failure through creativeness, through the creation of music, lent him something of a different order. Gesualdo was rediscovered in the 1920s in England in a small way. But if he was reinstated for what he was worth, it's thanks to Aldous Huxley with his variations on a musician, and Igor Stravinsky. Stravinsky even orchestrated the madrigals in a ballet in 1960, Monumentum for Gesualdo. And I don't know whether you know this, Stravinsky and Huxley together produced a vinyl long-play record in 1956, which was eventually produced under Huxley's auspices. I'm speaking to you humbly in English as a curator of the International Aldous Huxley Society. And we have the honor of having the president right there at the table, Professor Belfried Nugel from Münster, and colleagues who are curators. And thank you so much for your kind attention.